Hi, I'm Jess Minton. I'm a project manager at DAS42, and today I will be talking with Chris Cannon about AI-assisted data transformation in the media and communications industry. Chris, thanks for chatting with me today. Great to see you. I know you've been working in the data space for a long time with our clients. When we think about data transformation, a lot of companies think that means buying new tools. I would love to get your take on that. I know you've been working with one of our clients who's going through a merger specifically where there are a lot of different types of technologies at play. What does real data transformation look like in all of that context?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a pleasure to be here. Data transformation can mean needing to onboard new tools to emerge a capacity that did not exist before. But sometimes it is consolidating tools and consolidating instances of software. The example that you provided is an excellent one, where our client was merging with another organization. Each brings with them their own software and their own baggage and processes. And our data transformation in our scenario was unifying those two. So in this case, data transformation looked a lot like consolidating systems instead of onboarding new ones and new tools. Each of these two organizations that were merging were bringing together their own versions of software and data platforms. And this data transformation, the goal of it was unifying these processes into a coherent picture for the client.
That makes a lot of sense, and it certainly sounds more like simplifying rather than complicating the picture. And I'm sure a lot of organizations would appreciate that, whether or not there's a merger at play. Walk me through what you actually built. What did the data environment look like before you started, and what does it look like now?
Absolutely. A lot of people are familiar with the data silo problem, where an organization has their finance data, they have their sales data, they have their operations data, but unifying it is a challenge. And it's a challenge that we have specialized in solving. When you are dealing with a client that frequently executes mergers and acquisitions, that classic data silo problem, it becomes a Rubik's Cube. It adds a third dimension of now you're including these other organizations and their silos. And so what did we build? What we set out to do is not only break down vertical silos between organizations within the client's environment, but also break down those horizontal barriers so that operations data from organization A reports with operations data from organization B.
So, with all of that complexity and trying to simplify and unify everything, what role does Snowflake play here?
That is an excellent question because Snowflake is the connective tissue that brings all this together, that breaks down those silos and barriers that I was referring to earlier. Snowflake is the single source of truth where your Salesforce, your ServiceNow, and other data are landing, creates a clear and concise hub for all this the data reporting activity.
And I bet that also makes it simpler to govern, disseminate quality information, and all those things that organizations really need so that they can rely on their data assets.
Absolutely. Governance, reporting on the reporting, cost monitoring, these are all extremely important elements that Snowflake has simplified and centralized.
As we talk about Snowflake in any technical implementation, we know that AI is a part of everything. How does AI play into some of these elements of data transformations, and specifically with organizations trying to move really quickly into the AI space? What things are at risk of breaking if an organization skips some of that foundation work and goes straight into AI analytics, for example?
AI is an accelerant. And in the right hands, it is a very powerful accelerant. But just like a car, if you put the wrong person behind the wheel at a Ferrari, you will have an accident. And this is an excellent example of where you need to have this powerful tool in the right hands. And in the right hands, again, we can deliver impact and transformation at a pace that we frankly haven't seen before. That said, let's go back to that point about making sure it's in the right hands. If you don't have a data foundation and strategy, well, garbage in, garbage out. It applies to dashboards, it applies to AI, and its applications downstream.
It makes so much sense. We could essentially amplify any errors by feeding them into AI. So, wow, definitely something to watch out for there. Chris, you talked about using Snowflake as a single source of truth, and I think that's common for many of our clients, many users of Snowflake. For the client where you are currently implementing Snowflake, a huge portion of their data usage came through Salesforce. But the reality of how they're using Snowflake is that Snowflake is where all the power lives. Can you explain how those systems work together, what the difference is or the gaps are between those tools for someone who maybe isn't in that stack of technology every day?
Salesforce is excellent at what it does, and all of these platforms are excellent at what they do. Where the challenge becomes is when you try to use these platforms in ways that they're not designed. If you have a billing platform for your billing and a CRM for your CRM, beautiful. But then how do you merge the reporting between those two? And this goes back to our conversation around connective tissue. You bring the data that you need out of those systems and into Snowflake to build that unified reporting and allow the tools to perform the functions that they were designed to perform.
So what does it actually mean for a business when Snowflake becomes that single source of truth? What changes in the day-to-day workflow for people who are using the tool?
The change that we see is that decision making is accelerated. The quality of those decisions is reflective of the quality of the information going in. And so we see enhancements in the quality around these decisions, and proliferation of the decision making. You don't need to request information from one central point and wait for a response. You can build democratized data solutions that citizen data scientists can then go, and citizen data analysts can then go and review and make decisions at their level.
So we talked through some of the risks of not setting up a data foundation, and all of those, the benefits for Snowflake as a single source of truth. That all makes sense. Let's keep this idea moving forward. What are the advantages for using AI within a data system? How do you think about AI automations for our clients, and specifically the operational and administrative side of their data systems?
AI as an accelerant on the administrative element of development is a huge opportunity, and one that we are leaning into. With our client, we are using client trusted and secured AI solutions to handle some of those administrative tasks. An example being that AI is excellent at reading. AI can review code changes committed to a pull request and tell you, hey, here's what's changing. And so as a part of our process, we're using AI to accelerate that. Here's what's changing in upcoming code releases, and here's what paperwork submits to change review, so that everybody can be on the same picture and about what's coming up without it being an administrative burden on the developer.
Chris, we've all been hearing about business leaders placing investments in AI with the hope that their teams will accelerate their work and deliver greater outputs. I'd love to hear your take on that, and if you've had that experience where an AI tool helped to compress your development timeline, and maybe what you were building and how the approach has changed using AI tools.
I don't think we need to wait for AI as an accelerant. We're seeing it day in and day out. There's an on-ramp to learning it and using it effectively, but the on-ramp is there, and we're seeing people ride it. Just recently, for one of our telco clients, we were asked to ingest a new data source, something that could have taken weeks, given we were reaching out to a new platform that did not have a Fivetran native connector yet, and we needed to build a connection that was custom. And that connection, that custom connection in a pre-AI tools world would have taken weeks purely due to the complexity of having to reach out to the connection, manage incremental loads, and so forth. But AI can generate a draft code base that you will then obviously review and approve and refine and improve on. But that first draft that used to take so long, that writer's block that we're so familiar with, is just gone. It's just gone. With clients we've worked with, it is trust, 100%, because there is a lot of trust. When you tell people that they can have their cake and eat it too, they're going to look at you skeptically, as they should. However, with folks we haven't worked with before, there is that healthy dose of skepticism that I was alluding to a moment ago. But then we earn that trust. We show them, hey, we're not just letting AI go wild. We use AI to build that first draft, to get over that writer's block that we're also familiar with. But then we, the humans, review it and improve upon it and ensure that it's sound. And that's where, in this world moving forward, it's not just about the people, it's not just about the machines, it's about how we work best together. And I think that is with clients who want something done, consultants who have done that before and can use AI as an accelerant to achieve that objective.
You touched on this in, thinking how the humans and the machines can essentially work in tandem to make sure that they're producing something to the client satisfaction. What about someone who says, speed is great, how do we ensure that the quality doesn't suffer? What's maybe one or two tips that you would share for people who are implementing AI and want to ensure quality?
To implement AI as an accelerant, but ensure quality, you have to have the right people who are behind the wheel, who know what they're doing, who have seen it before, maybe at a different organization, but have seen it before, and guardrails around how the AI tools are used, organizationally, but also at the individual agent or an individual user level, ensuring that we have the right rules baked into the context for any given interaction with one of these tools.
I think that's great advice. It's not necessarily very different from how we think of other pieces of the tech stack, right? Tools that play to their strengths, something that we spoke about earlier, or the way that we apply different people on our team. We put people in certain roles where we know they will accelerate the development. We know that they'll be successful. So if you have a clear picture of what you're relying on your AI tools to do, hopefully that helps ensure the success. Great advice. So Chris, with an engagement like the one we've talked about in the space of a merger, what does success look like at the end? How do you know that the work is going to hold up?
In any data transformation, whether it is the result of a upcoming merger or other major initiative, success will vary based on the initiative, but you will never be successful if you don't know what success looks like from the onset. And so asking those questions of what are you hoping to get out of this? What does success look like? And starting with where you are, a solid understanding of where you are and where you want to go are the critical prerequisites to success for any transformation. Even though the details of any given transformation will vary from initiative to initiative.
And what about the client's team? Presumably, we're consultants. We finish a project and we say, thank you. Here is the product. Here's what we built for you. Here's your new set of data tools, your new system. How do we help make sure that the client is capable with all of the new things that they have at the close of an engagement?
Core to our philosophy at DAS42 is to bring the client along on the journey. We are working together with the client to understand what it is they want out of a data transformation or initiative and how we can help them get there. And then work with them along the way. Things change along the way and things are learned along the way, and sharing those lessons learned and the details of how the solutions work that we're building for them is core to our philosophy. Again, we don't build on the assumption we will maintain. We build with the client so that we can hand off to the client and move on to the next client who also needs our help.
Chris, we're coming to the end of our time together today. I would love to close with another piece of advice for people in this space who are thinking about AI and data transformation. If you are talking to a data team that's been asked to support an AI initiative, but they feel like their fundamentals aren't there yet, what do you tell them?
It is very tempting to go straight to AI and hope that some of your foundational steps will be auto-resolved. But there is no AI strategy without a data strategy. And again, that pressure to just do AI is out there. It's real. Everyone just wants you to do AI. But you do need to take that initial step of establishing your data strategy and knowing where you want to go, where you want to employ AI, where it makes sense for your organization. The good news is that with the right stack, with Snowflake and the right integrations and the right team, you can establish your foundation and then use AI as an accelerant to achieving the goals that you want out of your data initiative.
And you said earlier, it's much easier if you know where you're going at the onset. And it's one of my favorite career quotes, begin with the end in mind. And I think that can be great guidance along the way for any project, especially data transformation.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you, Chris, for sharing your wealth of knowledge around data transformation and AI with us today.